My father got cancer in March of 2017, and 5 weeks later he was gone. Obviously the plan was for me to take over the business eventually, just not within 5 weeks.
Somebody got drunk one night and decided to light our tires that were next to the building on fire, and we lost everything within 7 minutes. But in 2022, basically Greg and I purchased a pile of ashes. I said, maybe it's our sign we should just walk away now.
My dad unexpectedly passed in 97. I was 6 years old, my sister was 3 years old, and my mom has run the company ever since 97. At the end of the day, you can't do this life perfect, so you have to be comfortable with regret.
Thank you for listening in, guys. And Brad, Will, and Julie, thank you for being a part of this panel. We're going to be talking today about what it's like to take over the shop from the prior generation, from our parents, and some of the interesting nuances that raised their ugly head in that process. Or maybe not. Maybe it's all just glory and roses and whatever else the expression is. I don't know. But we're going to have fun talking about that. And by the way, we have these panel conversations about once a month. And I'm looking to change that because I've heard from you about how you enjoy listening to the panels a lot. And so we actually just launched a brand new page, addi.me/panel, addi.me/panel. And you're going to be able to see the next 7 topics that we're planning on doing. And there's a maximum of 4 seats available for each panel, because I feel like once you get more than that, you just have a mess on Zoom type calls. So for maximum of 4 seats, go to addi.me/panel. Pick a topic that you want to talk about. In August, we're looking at doing coaches versus an AI prompt. Like, why spend the money on a coach if you can just ask ChatGPT, right? So, and of course, there's an obvious answer to that to me, but maybe it's not obvious to everybody else, and let's have a conversation about it. Another topic that we're going to do that, Julie, you might be interested in is this was actually recently suggested to me, so we're gonna do this. We're going to have a panel of 2 different shops, 2 couples of husband and wife team, talking about how it's like to live, work, breathe, I don't know, go to the bathroom together and never leave each other's side. Like what does that even look like, and how do you actually navigate that? So we're going to have that conversation. We're going to do that twice because I want to have 4 different shops' perspective. And again, if you had 8 people on here, that'd be too many. So we're going to do 2 different shops, 2 different partners, right? Husband and wife for both of them. And I want to do that twice, I think. So that's also already on the schedule that people can sign up for if that sounds of interest. And so again, it's addi.me/panel, PANBL. And guys, if you're curious as far as why the Addi, it's our own little URL shortener. It's short for Addison, and it's Addison Auto Shop Marketing. That's the sponsor of this podcast. And so that's kind of how that all plays together. All right, let's stop having me talk and have you guys talk. Why don't we go around the room? Will, you were the first one on the call this morning, so you get to introduce yourself the first. Tell us a little bit about your shop and a little about your background.
My name is Will. My father started the shop back in 93 in a small little 3-bay garage in Grand Rapids. About 97, he expanded to a second location north of town. That was like an 8-bay garage. And then in 2000, he purchased the location that I'm currently in right now in a little small rural town of Coopersville, Michigan. We're 5-bay, 3 2-post lifts, 1 scissor lift, and then a dry bay. My father, unfortunately, got cancer in like March of 2017, and 5 weeks later he was gone. And so between March and April, when he passed, obviously the plan was for me to take over the business eventually, just not within 5 weeks. We kind of had a plan out of, every year purchasing a little bit of the company and getting a little bit more of the responsibilities of an owner kind of deal. But then when cancer hit, took him quick, and so we got the trust fund going and put everything in a trust fund. Our first location he ended up selling back in like 2012 when we were in the recession, and we needed some cash, and so we sold that location. So we just had the 2 locations, the one north of town and and then this one. And then when he passed, I couldn't afford to buy both, but I wanted to buy the company because that was my lifelong dream, was to continue my dad's legacy. So we sold the one north of town, which paid off my father's debt, which then allowed me to purchase this location from the family in 2019. And I've been trying to run it since then. It's been a challenge. Definitely didn't have the owner mindset when I took it over. I had an employee mindset. And my biggest struggle with that was I thought my dad had it all set up. Everything's good to go. I can just kind of coast through the job and make a paycheck. But I came to realize that I was not able to do that. That was hindering the business, hindering our growth. No growth at all. And then joined a coaching company. They helped me understand the ownership mindset. But they kind of stopped after 1 year of coaching me. And it was more of just a money grab at that point. So once that contract was up, I left them, thought I could do it on my own again, realized I couldn't. And then I got sponsored to go to another coaching company, went to there. I've been with them since 24, and it's been growth ever since. So,
but now you're going to replace them with ChatGPT.
Yeah, right. No, it's funny that you mentioned that. I actually, as you were saying, I'm like, ChatGPT is good. It's a good assistant, but it's not a coach. It feeds into you too much. It's just going to give you the responses that you want to hear, unless you really program it to not. But at the same time, it's still programmed to give you the answers that you want to hear.
There is so much in the statement that you just made, and we're going to push back on that in full on the next panel. On this panel, we're going to talk. We're talking about the family parts, and I've got a couple questions for you as far as the trust was set up because you're not the only child.
Correct. I'm the youngest.
So the money, it needs to be split. You can't just be all that. That makes perfect sense. So you had to, your phrase is pay back the family or pay the family. And that's really what was going on. It's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Julie, you were next. Why don't you quick introduce yourself to us and give us your quick story as well. Tell us a little bit about the shop. Go ahead.
I'm Julie Winchester. Like I said, we're in Putney, Vermont. It's shop, Rod's Towing and Repair, was started by my husband's father, Rod. It was established in 1967 in the little community that we live in, which is about 1,300 registered voters, just to give you a little idea of the size of our town. We too are a 5-bay garage. 4 of them are post, and then one of them has the newest, latest alignment machine on it. And I had shared, so our daughters, so we're second generation owners. Our daughter's third, one is really training to take over Greg's position. That's the deal. They thought probably it would take 10 years for her. So when you were saying you were condensed into 5 weeks, they really feel probably 10 years to learn all that Greg does here. Greg kind of was left with his dad. His dad too, cancer. He survived it, but when he came back after surviving it, he's like, I'm done, and just walked off. He was like, done. So we don't want to do that to the girls. We would like to have them trained and ready to go. So
no, but I'm sorry, did I miss it? Did you say, I want to kind of emphasize how recently that was that you and Greg took over the shop?
So Dad walked off. Greg, what was that? He was 50 so it was like 30 years ago, and the dad was like, I'm done.
Okay.
So, but Greg felt very much like Will, like he just had to figure it out, right? How to take over.
So 30 years ago, the management of the shop was being done by you and Greg, but you weren't owners yet.
No. So, Greg's mom actually did pass away back in 2016, and that was really for us when the shift really started to happen and really changes needed to happen at that point. I came in 2020. I'm a retired dental hygienist, so I've never done any of this. I did run a very successful home business, listening to you guys just briefly about coaching. It was run by a gentleman, Jeff Olson, and he poured coaching into me. And I really do feel, between dental hygiene and that business, it did prepare me. I too did not get trained. It was the type of thing, there was some embezzling happening in the office, and that person needed to go immediately. So Greg was like, basically it was here you go. So my best friend is a CPA, and my other best friend runs a fishing, she had a fish business at the time. And they came in and we just pieced together the backside of the business. And then I had shared, in 2021, we lost everything to a fire. We found out it was arson. Somebody got drunk one night and decided to light our tires that were next to the building on fire. And we lost everything within 7 minutes. Still did not own it at the time. My father-in-law owned it. A true nightmare. We survived COVID. We actually were thriving through that as we were a business that could stay open, and we thrived through
Essential.
COVID.
Yes.
Essential, exactly.
Right.
To just turn around and we lost everything. So in 2022, basically Greg and I purchased a pile of ashes. Like I said to Greg, maybe this is our sign. We should just walk away now. But this is his family legacy, and it was his dream that he watched go up in smoke that night. And so we decided to stick it out, and we were grossly underinsured. Grossly, that's something I don't ever want any shop owner to ever be. We inherited a very old insurance plan.
Right.
But we completed the rebuild by 2023. And we opened back up parts of the business within 6 months, another part of the business in 9 months, and we're fully back. And
well, there's so much there. There's so much there. But the first question I have is, and maybe this shouldn't be the first question, but the first question I have is there any chance you've got to earn some of the building ashes stored in on display somewhere at the shop? From a Phoenix, right? This is what we came from, right?
Yeah. Well, so we could be grandfathered into, so we didn't have to go through all the Act 250. Again, this is a shop that's been here since 1967. We had to keep, I think 2 walls survived. They were built of cement. So we had to keep the layout of the original. So there are parts of the floor that survived 1967, the stuff that was built back then.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's actually the reason for that was to comply with historic preservation type oriented law. That's fun.
You got a strong
as I roll my eyes.
That's great.
What's that, Will?
I said you got a strong foundation. That's great.
There it is.
True.
But I want to kind of point out that it's very interesting that within 4 years of you buying the shop, inside of 4 years of you buying the shop, you're already training the next generation. Within 4 years of you officially taking over it, you're planning the next one out. And that's
smart.
Interesting.
That's smart.
All right. Brad, lay it out for us. What do you got? What's over there at Scott's?
Yeah, so a lot of what I've heard is resonates a little bit here and there. So similar, Will, my dad started the company in 1981, and we were a 2-bay gas station, and all we did was tires. We're outside of Chicagoland. Now we have shops in Illinois as well as Indiana, but we were so busy, the 2 bays were just tires stocked, and 365, we would jack up cars outside and do the tires outside.
Oof.
And that was back in, right? I mean, that's not back. I mean, this is for a long time, right? I mean, you had 15s and 14s, and you had, 8 SKUs, and that was every tire known to man back then, right? And a little different nowadays, but similar. My dad unexpectedly passed in 97. I was 6 years old. My sister was 3 years old, and my mom has run the company ever since 97. And I say it all the time. I've said it pretty much my whole life that my mom's Superman. I don't know how she did it. It's interesting enough. Today is my daughter's 6th birthday. And it's kind of hitting me that we're getting to the same age and everything that my mom was when she just stepped up and said, I'm not going to have a fire sale. I'm not going to kind of let this legacy go. I'm going to do it. And walked in and kind of told the employees that, hey, who's with me? Let's go. If you're not, no problem. No, totally understand. But we're not selling. We're not changing. I'm going to take over for Scott. And that was that's like literally almost 29 years ago, this July. And I never thought I was going to come in. So you joked earlier before we started. I didn't really grow up in the shop, maybe because I had a mom and not a dad that was involved in it. So I was really into sports, and I'd come in maybe on a Saturday here or there, and I'd fake do tires, right? She was always terrified I was going to get my fingers stuck in a bead and lose a finger or something. But I kind of looked at it as fun and joking, and never really thought I would do this truly. Got a couple of degrees, was working elsewhere, and had a buddy kind of suggest, why don't you come back and give the family thing a shot? And wasn't married at the time, didn't have kids at the time. Went to my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, and said, what if we sell everything, pack up, and we'll move back to Chicago? And she said, I need a ring on my finger to do that. Number of months later, we decided to make that transition. That was back in 2018. At that time, over the years, my dad had expanded from that gas station. So 93 built a 5-bay, 96 took the 5-bay to a 15-bay, still kept the gas station. My mom ran the gas station, kind of developed purchased some other gas stations, did some car wash, things of that nature. Divested all that off in 2008, just happens chance, like a month and a half before the crash, just perfect timing for her. And then I think to really retire and sell and figure out what that looked like. And I gave her a phone call. I was living in Detroit, said, why don't you come out for a Blackhawks Red Wings game? And we were sitting at a bar, and I said, what do you think about me coming back home? And she about fell off the bar stool. And I think twofold. I think that it surprised her, and I think it scared her at the same time. Like, whoa, you did all this schooling, you had this career, you're doing all this. Is this even the right move? Yeah, I'm 8.
What did I just help pay for it, right?
I wouldn't change it for anything.
Nice.
And so I guess now for us, came back with the intention to grow the business, and my mom and I really, I'm just blessed. We've been more partners than we've been, owner and employee at times. I think, we both just respect each other's work and what we both do. And so we've continued to grow. We're at 4 stores right now, about 10 million, a little over 10 million in sales. There's about 50 of us in the company.
Nice.
We're looking at acquiring 2 more stores this year.
Nice. All in the Chicagoland area?
Yes. Right now we have 2 in Northwest Indiana, 2 in south suburbs of Chicago.
Right.
Yeah, kind of all along that
Still working outside a lot or no?
What's that?
I said still working outside a lot or no?
No, luckily now, no more working outside. We can afford to keep everybody in the building.
Nice.
It's been hot though, like you guys are experiencing. It's been, 100 degrees in Chicago I feel like that's 200 degrees down south.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Like, is Alaska the only place we can go right now to escape the heat? Is it probably not even Alaska? Yeah, I don't know. It's been unbearable in many ways. But back to the heat. It was a arson that thought the tires were fun to burn, and or be interesting to burn. You don't keep tires outside anymore.
They're further away from the building. They're in like
Fenced in area.
a different, like a locked area with oh my goodness, barbed wire on the top of, so it's not gonna be fun to get to them.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Is that all your used tires or your new tires?
So we are listening to you guys. So we are we have a gas station here. So we have 4 pumps for gas. We do towing 24/7. The gas obviously is 24/7 with credit card, and then the 5 bays. So it's fascinating to me to hear Brad talk about multiple, or both of you, multiple locations. Greg has always kind of, again, I think of us now, it's like we're in our 50s. And I'm just like, I'm tired at this point, even though we're just starting. But I guess multiple locations has always scared me because I know how much this one location takes to make it happen.
Right. Well, you're running. I mean, you technically kind of have multiple locations because you have towing, you have gas, you have auto repair. Those are 3 different separate businesses. They happen to be in the same location, but they're 3 separate businesses that I'm assuming are under 3 different names, correct? I mean, obviously towing and repair isn't, but
all under Rod's Towing and Repair.
Really? Okay.
The one location. Yeah.
It's the same with tax liability and all that. It's all under one.
Yeah. Well, we have an umbrella company, Winchester Inc., doing business as Rod's Towing.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Yeah, we're only one location right now. My goal is to expand. I moved up to a city north of Coopersville called Muskegon, and I want to expand to a location closer to home so I can eventually spend a little more time at home as well. And I don't mind the 30-minute drive to work every day, but sometimes I want to get home and play with my kids. I got 4 little kids. I got a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and 2 1-year-old twins. So I want to hang out with much. Oh yeah, we're real busy, but God has blessed us. My wife was a PA. June 12th, she retired as a PA and is a stay-at-home mom now. Gets to watch our babies grow up and whatnot. So that's been a huge blessing. But I just yesterday, my daughter decided she wanted to learn how to walk, and she started standing up, and all of a sudden she's walking across the floor within a day. And I didn't get to see the first steps other than a video recording. It's like, man, I want to be able to see the first something, so I want to get to a point where I can get a couple locations that can run themselves, and I can obviously still work on the business, but be home with my family and watch my kids grow up. So
nice. I like that goal. I don't know, just there's a 30-minute commute isn't terrible though.
And that's kind of what I told my wife when we moved up there. I'm like, I don't mind the drive. I'm going against traffic both times. Most traffic is heading
the other way
north when I'm going in, and heading south when I'm going home. So it works out for that, but it's still sometimes, and when I want to get home and, son's got baseball or whatever, I want to be able to be there and load up the kids and get them there and not show up to the practice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I want to load him up and see him get his outfit on, that kind of deal.
So one of the benefits in my mind of the commute, even if it's only 5 minutes, is you get to
decompress.
I think it's a skill learning how to switch from CEO to dad.
Yeah.
And it's not always an easy switch, right? And so sometimes some sort of downtime, even if it's only 5 or 10 minutes, allows for us to kind of reframe the fact that you just had to fire an employee for embezzlement. And then all of a sudden have to be super compassionate with your child that just broke the dishes because they were, messing around. And it's a dish, so who cares? But you don't want to bring home the baggage, right? The emotional piece of it. And I think that any kind of commute actually helps with that. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is that
well, some days the drive home is gospel music. Some days the drive home is rage music, It depends on how the day goes. But yes, it is nice to be able to decompress.
Spotify is confused with your listening choice.
Yeah. Don't look at my 2026 playlist come the end of the year. So,
and we're going from Rage Against the Machine to gospel hymns. That's fun. But anyway, so we're talking about the family piece of it. And can we take a moment, and hopefully this isn't, hopefully you guys are okay with this, but can we take a moment and reflect on whether or not, or how often how well our parents did with keeping the emotional baggage at work versus bringing it home? Like, did we learn something from their ability to do or not to do that? And hopefully I'm not playing on too personal of an issue, but what do you guys want to?
No, I would say my dad was, the problem with my dad was, unless we're on vacation, he was in work mode. He was always in work mode. That guy was the hardest worker I've ever met. He'd get up at 4 a.m., be to the shop by 5:30, 6 o'clock, be working until 6 p.m., he'd come home, eat his dinner, and then plop in front of the TV with his news on and crash out, because he's exhausted. But when we're on vacation, he was dad. My dad was a great dad when he was present. But he worked really hard for our family. And that's what I always saw in him, is that he wasn't trying to avoid us or anything. He was just working hard for us. My mom didn't have to work. He provided for us. We got to go on nice, lavish vacations, a couple camping trips up north. We got to go to Florida every year, Orlando, Disney, Universal. I mean, we got to do it all as kids. And those are the core memories that I have of my dad, is that I got to do all these fun things. And in that piece is what I'm trying to pass on to my children, is like, I don't want to be the dad that comes home and brings work home. So I usually try to come in with a good spirit, good attitude, talk to them, hang out with them. And then when they go to bed, I'll talk to my wife about, hey man, I had this issue with this, or, this customer here or whatever. But, because I had to vent to somebody a little bit, but at the same time, I always try and my dad really instilled a positive mindset. Life could always be worse. Everything could always be worse. Always be positive. Find the positive in whatever's happening. If you had a bad day, find the positive that happened, whether it be you fired that guy. Well, you fired him because of this, and that creates an opportunity to then move on to a bigger and better, day tomorrow. So, and what happens today he doesn't bring it into tomorrow. That's another thing that he always instilled in us, was whatever happened yesterday, that was yesterday. That today's a new day. Let's make today a better day, basically. So, my dad was really good at that. My mom also passed back in 2012. That was something I forgot to mention. And so the whole trust thing also had to be set up, because my dad remarried and she wanted her half of it as quick as possible. So we had to get the trust fund going and get her money. So
Interesting. Okay.
my siblings all donated their half of the business. I'll be completely honest with that. They were fantastic and very generous, because I felt like they were owed something as well. But they were all like, nope, you're the one that's always been in the business. I've been coming here. I got a worker's permit at 13. My dad sat me down and interviewed me for the job, to be the
That's awesome.
technician, or the shop maintenance tech is what I started off as, shop maintenance tech. And
Okay.
he interviewed me for it, and had me fill out an application and all that. I mean, he was very to the book on when it came to business. It was business. But when he passed, I had that same mindset in me. It's like, when I'm at work, it's work mode, and to the point where my now wife was my girlfriend. She's, you're different at work. You sound different and everything. Like, you talk different. And I'm like, yeah, I'm at work. This is work mode. I'm in work will. This is, Then I got a second job doing shoe sales, just to make some more money when I was when my dad owned the business and whatnot. And the owner of that shoe company was like, where's the fun guy that comes in and buys shoes that I hired to sell shoes? I'm like, that's Funwell. This is Workwell. No. I want Funwell working here. So when my dad passed and I took over the company, I tried to move it more towards fun. We like to have a lot of fun out in the shop and keep light moods, fun music going on and stuff. So, but I don't want this to all be about me.
No, you're doing fine. Actually, I've got a question for everybody. Is like, I think your mission is spot on. Spend more time with family, right? We don't family so that we can work. We work so that we can family. Yeah. And so I think that's we don't family to support work. We work to support family. And so I think I like your mission. I like your thought process on it. But here's my question. All right. You learned to a really strong work ethic by watching your dad. And if you're always at home playing with your children and they don't ever see work, will they be able to learn from example? How are we going to instill a as strong, if not stronger, work ethic in our children with your mission? And I think that's a question for all of us. I think we all share a similar version of that mission, right? And so, and this is actually something I'm actually wrestling with in my own head, is how do I make sure that happens? Do you guys have any thoughts on that? I mean, that's not really repair shop related, but if maybe we can chat about that a little bit and then we'll get back to the shop stuff.
I don't want to get on too big of a soapbox with this, because I do feel this is huge across small business America. And Will, when you're talking, like the things that came to my mind was I really look at things as seasons, and always trying to remind myself that everything in moderation, including moderation, and that if you can figure out a balance between those two things, I think you can be successful. Because to your point, Brad, it's, do I want to work really hard in my 30s so I can enjoy my 50s and 60s? Or is it I'm sacrificing too much in my 30s that I'll look back and have regret in my 50s and 60s, right? It's, to your point, I feel like there's no right answer. Everyone has to walk their own path. Everyone has to forge their way, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think one piece that I'm big on with everyone, and maybe it's because I've become comfortable with it myself, is everything has to be judged with risk. And at the end of the day, you can't do this life perfect. So you have to be comfortable with regret. And
also have multiple kids.
Small, and some regret can be massive, right? But at the end of the day, you have to get comfortable with that, because everything has to be a trade-off. Like you said, if you stay at home, how can you make income? How can you go on those Orlando trips and make the memories?
Right.
And vice versa. Right. If all you have, maybe, not saying that but if all you had was a few Florida memories, was that worth the trade-off too, right? It's like, just goes back to that piece of balance.
Right.
I actually think you got to show how to be a balanced person. I have to balance work. I like work. I love it. I can't let it consume me. I like it. I love it. This family means everything to me, but I can't let that be everything either.
Right.
Because I still have to provide for you. I still have to be a strong father, a strong husband. But I have to figure out a way to balance that. And that, I think, is so individualized. You have to figure it out yourself.
That's fair. So the other thing I heard, Will, with your piece, and Julie and Brad, I want you to jump in on this. Your dad was work, and the shop was work mode. And if I heard you right, you've tried to inject a little bit more fun mode at the shop.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is lessons learned from, this is what the prior generation did. This is what our parents did. I'm going to do it a little bit differently, and for the purpose of improvement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not just for my own, pat myself on the back. I'm doing it differently, but for how do I improve on what they've already built? And I heard that. Are there other examples that any three of you can give on this is what they did and it was good, and on that really fire resistant foundation we built further, right? What are those things?
I think Greg would share he has similar memories as well. He will tell you some of his happiest memories with his dad or here at the shop. He's been here all his life. They started at the year he was born. And so mom and dad always worked together. They ran the business, and now Greg and I are running the business together. I also, though, Will, lived what your wife is living right now, because he put in a lot of hours when we were in the other role. He still puts in a ton of hours. Greg really doesn't know how to function without running 100 miles an hour.
Right.
I'm thankful for our girls helping us, because, we probably see each other more. We really don't do a lot of vacationing. We have found that weekend getaways, like if I plan something 6 weeks out in advance, that kind of has worked out really well for us, rather than large chunks of time being away. But I think for us, now Greg and I are here. If you talk to our kids grew up in the shop. So it was very emotional the day that we lost the original building, because multiple generations have grown up in that building. Like, the kids have some of the funniest memories with cousins. And that's what's happening with us. Again, like, if you stop here I got everybody in camp, but there was like a week and a half before, there are 8 kids here in the shop. Some of the older ones are starting to have some jobs, but these kids have always known, like, if there's dusting that needs to be done, all your oil containers, the kids have learned how to crush oil filters, so they earn.
I'm sorry, you're running a daycare. You're running a camp, a family.
I call myself the Ganny Nanny. The Ganny. they call me Gammy. So I'm the Gammy nanny. So I also, because I do the books, I can condense, and I've created systems that I can condense my day in a really short day on days that I'm running kids to doctor's appointments. Like, I try to make my girls' life easier in the kids front so that I can keep them up front. But the whole family is a part of this. And even we did just we went to Connecticut and had this really great Sunday together at this park. And, I explained to the kids, we're able to do that because we just adopted 2 who were family members. Now they're mine. But they'll oftentimes tell us like, oh, Angela, you guys are so rich. And it's like, we are not rich. And like, we work very hard, and we work hard so we can do these things. But we're not boarding on planes. We're not going to Florida. Like, we're creating memories. A lot of it is here, and then, off together. But the kids are here.
I would challenge you on that. I think you are rich. You're rich in love.
Yes,
you're rich in
blessings.
family. And that's in blessings. And that's where when people start saying you're rich, yes, I am rich. I'm rich in blessings. I'm rich in love. I'm rich in family. I'm in friends. I'm very rich in all of that. Money means nothing. Money can come and go. It's stuff those are just
it's just a tool to be used.
They don't mean anything. Obviously, it's nice to have money, but at the same time, I want to make my business so successful that I can donate. One of my members of my the coaching company I'm part of, he donates like 200 cars a year. So it's something crazy. He donates cars left and right, and that's what I want to do. Is the point where I can give back. Like, yeah, could I?
I'm sorry. What coaching company is that?
What's that?
What coaching company?
I'm with ShopFix.
Okay. All right. Nice. Okay. So I'm sorry. I kind of want to move on. I kind of want to come back and just Julie, if I don't mind, if I can just ask, like, what would you charge for my son to come visit you for a week and be at the shop?
Oh, I had to send one of the neighbor kids. One of the neighbor kids, he was coming when the kids aren't here. We're like, the kids are in camp. Greg put him to work, but he's like, Julie, I can't keep the kid busy every single day. Yeah, but I love that too. Like, I love you have kids in the community that too, if they needed something, they knew they could stop by Rod and Greg is here. Like,
that's pretty cool.
Now
I've heard of growing technicians, but you're just taking it to a whole new level.
I was just going to make a comment about, man, you're growing the future of technicians here.
Right?
That's great. That's awesome.
That's great. We're all trying to solve the problem. That's good. That's good stuff. Brad, have you brought your children into work?
I have, and they do enjoy it. I mean, they're little, right? Yeah, same with you. Also, I have a 3 and 6-year-old as of today, and my 6-year-old is hilarious. She loves to sit at the counter, and pretend answer phones, but if you walk in that door and she's at that counter, within 3 seconds she'll ask you, or you might even say, I think she knows to say, "Good morning, I'm Charlie. Do you need tires?"
Nice.
And
nice.
that's her go-to.
Nice.
And she loves just being there around it, acting like she's on. She'll pretend to take phone calls. She'll pick up the phone. Oh, yep. And your car's ready. Whenever you're ready, you can come get it. Does that.
You got to get her pricing now. Just get her pricing. Nobody's going to say no to her.
Yeah, right.
So even,
and yeah, my little guy just loves running around, watching the guys, stand them on top of an engine while they're doing an oil change or something. He thinks that's great. So yeah, no, I mean, definitely I want them to know, being a family business, right? Like and my stepdad's involved in the business as well. This is where Dad and Nana go to work every day. This is where we, get to spend some time together too, but this is what allows us to go to the grocery store. It's what allows us to buy the backpack when you need it for school. It's what allows us to go on vacation. I think that to an extent that I want to be realistic with them about, where does money come from? We already kind of talk about things like that. That's
smart.
At times you hear them say like, well, if it's broken, let's go get one. And I'm like, oh, that's not how this works. What do you mean? No, you broke it. It's done. It's over with, man. We're not going to get a new one. And he's like, well, we can. I'm like, of course we can, but that's not the point.
Right.
Yes. So I feel like it's that fine line, right? At the end of the day, you want to give your children opportunities. You work hard, so you hope that can give them, a leg up, an advantage, an experience. Mm-hmm. At the same time, you can't speed food. I mean, same with employees, right? It's I feel like it's that same relationship, the same mentoring with, getting somebody to go from a tire tech to a mechanic to an advisor to assistant manager, right? It's, I can't pull you along the way, because then you're never going to feel like you deserve it or work hard enough.
Yeah.
And if I just wait around, you don't know what to do to get there either.
It's funny. You got a lot of shop owners say that they're babysitting they have to babysit their technicians, but literally, Julie, you have to babysit at work for these kids. I eventually want to bring my son to the shop, but again, with my dad being so work mode, as a kid coming to the shop, it was straight to work. There's no messing around. There's no standing on an engine or whatever. Like, it was, if you're here, you're under our liability. You're under the roof. We're at work. We got to be responsible and whatnot. And so I want to bring my son here, but because my father did that, created it kind of, I don't want to say ruined my childhood and whatnot, but it put me in a mode where it's like, I need to work for what I want. And so at 13, I started working, and I didn't go hang out with friends. I didn't go do the fun stuff that a kid needs to do at 13 to 18 or whatever. I just went to work and I worked. It's
okay, but you also saved yourself a lot of, maybe a couple of outstanding arrest warrants.
Yeah, right. That's true. That's true. I mean,
the pros and
I'm not
cons,
saying
right?
It's a terrible thing. I'm just saying that I want my kids to have a childhood, right? But at the same time, it's that balance of that. I want to develop a good work ethic in my children, but I also want to let them have a childhood. I don't want them to be 13 and thinking about, I need to work here and make this money so I can save for this. I got to find that happy balance where I still want them to enjoy a childhood, because I look back now in my 30s, I'm like, I didn't really have a childhood. I just went to work when school was over with. The next day, I'm going to work with my dad, and I'm working all day, Monday through Friday. I had the weekends kind of deal, and that's just like, and again, I just don't want my kids to have to do that. I want them to make that choice for themselves if they want to. I'm not saying my dad didn't give me the choice. It's just, I want to instill in them, like, enjoy your childhood, enjoy your summer break between school and stuff. So,
yeah, I'll jump in on that real quick, unless you have something really important.
That's it.
I feel very connected to that, Will, because looking back on it now, I always, like, now everyone asks, right? Like, oh, did you grow up busting tires? Oh, did you grow up, doing oil changes and such? And I'm like, I grew up not even liking cars. Like, I really wasn't a car kid or a car guy. I liked planes. I was really into planes. I went to school for aerospace engineering. I mean, not that I wanted to get the farthest away from the family business, but it just never resonated with me. And I think, though, had all that not played out, and Brad, we've had discussions about this, that I don't think I would have gotten to where we are today, the position we're in, the growth the business has had. My mom and I are in a 20 group, so we travel 3 times a year for that. Obviously, there's a lot of travel just with, our size with vendor trips and things like that, so, and we try and get the family to go as much as we can, so we went to Hawaii in February for 2 weeks, all 6 of us, my parents plus me and the kids, right? We had meetings out there, but then we tagged on to that. We're going to Greece for 2 weeks next year for the advanced trip and such, right? And then on the side of it is my mom and I travel, 3 times or so a year ourselves, and we usually try and tag at least a day or 2 onto that. Sure, we kind of debrief and hang out, but that is a lot of time that I'm getting with her that I would not have had if I was working for somebody else.
You said Advance is having a trip to Greece?
Yeah, or maybe they announced it Monday. Yeah, it's announced. Yeah, Monday was for sure the sign up. 2027, October 2027.
Right, my sales rep. I want a trip to Greece.
But so all that really plays into this piece, though, that I think for just my personality and how I looked at the world and what I wanted when I was younger, saying, high school and such, not as a 7 or 8 year old, that I feel being somewhat steered or heavily directed into the business, I might have rebelled against that.
Sure.
And now knowing what it's turned into, I feel like it would have been a huge missed opportunity. And that, again, it's like, I just feel like I'm a broken record now, but it's that balance. I want them to know it's there. I want them to know it's an option. They can always come work for dad with dad. They're going to probably know, just the way that I parent, like, Don't expect anything for free. Don't expect to walk in and be a manager.
Mhm.
You
Right.
know, but at least they know I want them to know it's there, and equally
that's something
know
that
you can say
that's
no
something
and
that-
walk away.
Brad, that's something that your mom did that reminded me when Will was talking about his story about being interviewed at 13, right, for the position. But when you came into the business, after you, like, your first step wasn't to be manager. You actually, your mom, did I have that right? Your mom actually
Yeah.
ran you through the circuit or the cycle of other positions, and that way you didn't start out as CEO. That's pretty good. Can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, I gave it to the top level, but what actually happened when you're on day one?
Sure, I think Julie's been mentioning their story and such is that similar, right? It was like this mapped out process, but I took her to a bar. We were going to the Blackhawks Red Wings game. What do you think about me coming back home? And she almost falls off. And I really do believe that there was panic and excitement all equally together. And
Okay.
that, why are you walking away from this industry? Why are you walking away from this career? Oh my gosh, am I going to provide you an opportunity? Is this really right? You almost like, why are you doing this? Caught
Yeah.
off guard, right?
Well, yeah. Well, my thought also is if she helped pay for college, then she's also wondering like what she just paid for. But take me through, the day one on the job.
Yep.
Like,
So
like,
before even day one, which I think is really, if we want to talk about this transition point, where we are now, all of three of us is really different than somebody who might be listening who has an 18 or 22-year-old or, whatever. And maybe they're thinking, I'm getting to the point of transitioning. I think you need to have those upfront conversations about what it looks like. Everyone's expectations should really be laid out on both
Nice.
sides. What does the child expect and what does the parent expect as well? And I'm blessed again, like I said, I was lucky enough that my mom laid that out and made that happen to where we are today is we both look at each other and we both say it, that we're really partners. That came from her setting that foundation. So she said, well, let me think about it. Let's talk about it. It's exciting, but this is reality. Like, I got to think about this. So she came back to me and offered me a tire tech position at less than half of what I was making at my corporate job. I was going to work weekends for as long as she told me to. We're a 6-day-a-week shop. I was going to have a tire tech schedule, no questions about that. And I would need to do that for at least 6 or 8 months to start. And don't even talk to me about anything else until you do 1,000 oil changes and 500 pairs of tires, and everyone knows that you're here to work.
So does she have like a whole map laid out of like, okay, you're gonna do this for this time, and then we're gonna move you up to service
No,
rider?
it was just a conversation. That, and then she said, then I want you to, shadow mechanics, and you're going to put you on the counter and do this, then you can be on the counter. And don't talk to me about expanding for 2 years. You need to learn this business. You have no idea. You know nothing about this business.
yeah. So it was a map, right? It was tire
Yeah.
technician to shadowing technicians to management's not even allowed to be in the conversation until 2 years.
And-
Okay. So what?
And no, like, concrete, nothing in writing, no like mentorship program. Right. But, very much, I think that, like I said, she went like back after that weekend, kind of took a week to really reflect on it. And I feel like that is what set her and I up to really have a chance at making this work. And I was excited. I was excited to come back and work for, Dad's company per se, and realize that, okay, we are going to get this to second generation. And maybe this is another way for me to be connected to that feeling and him and our family and all that. And, things went a little faster than I think she was expecting per se. I think I did like 7 months as a tire tech, kind of shadowed, got on the counter, became an advisor. And within a year, we were kind of starting to talk about another location and really get serious about it. And then it was like almost just a little less than 2 years before we purchased our second location.
Okay.
And then that second location was like a lull. So they were open for a really long time, but they had just closed their doors. So there was no employees, nothing day one that we walked in. So it was me and her on the counter, and we took 2 technicians from the other store, and we were just slammed day one. So she was mostly running the counter. I was pseudo trying to be on the counter, but we were so busy, I couldn't let the guys in the shop do an oil change, a tire repair, nothing. So I was just running out there to do all the low hanging fruit, keep the, answer the phone out there. And I think that piece of it too, let her know, like, I'm in. I don't need to go sit in a corporate office somewhere and run spreadsheets and do all this. Like,
Yeah.
we're going to, like, that's where I want to get. That's my vision. But, I understand we can't make leapfrogs. We got to take it one step at a time.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, Julie, does your 10-year plan look a little bit like his 2-year plan?
No,
For your
but some
career?
things are interesting because Greg, again, I have this guy. First of all, no one can outwork him, even at 58. 2, he's been living, breathing this from the day he was born. So the problem with this shop has been no one has ever been able to replace Greg. Like, there's been times they got upset with each other and he'd walk off and they would nearly go bankrupt without his like mindset and how he does things and the pace that he does it. I will say early in the conversation, I think for his childhood, he definitely, while he still, tears up talking about being in the shop with his dad, and he wanted to be here because that's where dad was. And, the relationship that they built here at the shop, he didn't play basketball. He wanted to really go into the Army, but he knew by not being here, the family business really was not, they needed him. So I agree that he definitely, I think there's been time prior that he felt stuck here, that by the time that maybe something could be different for him. But I feel like for me being his wife, like I wasn't raised in a shop, right? So I brought a different perspective to the home and to a lot was put on me just because he was here a lot and he did a lot of the towing back then, 24/7. He was out, that's how I remember his home. I've been a part of this family, like a friend since I was 7. So it's like, I remembered what his home looked like. And then, but definitely for our kids, I was like, Greg, this might not be for any of our children. Like, I don't know. And, of course he has a son and our son wants nothing. He appreciates the work ethic that he, learned here, but he went off and became an RN. So although he says cars and patients are very similar for things that he'll share, but he still finds working. I'm not convinced he might not be back. I mean, you get burnt out in the medical field, but our girls 100% were like, we want this. But Greg feels there's a real gap. So our Lindsay, who is taking over, I have one of them that, she's a service manager. The bays. Greg has basically, I think if we were to call it what it is, I think he's really become a foreman without even wanting to be a foreman. But she does all the scheduling, ordering parts, all of that sort of stuff. And he is out in the bays making sure that pace that he wants to see happen here is happening, that it's accurate. All of that. And then our daughter, Larissa, also is up front dealing mainly with our customers, answering the phone. She manages the entire towing. That's been taken off of our plate altogether. We're no longer up all hours of the night. And
Make the kids do that. That's a good
yeah,
point. They don't mind missing sleep, right?
Sleep for sure.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm getting Greg back for holidays because honestly, 4th of July, so he was always running the tow truck, so things have shifted some. I honestly don't ever see us retiring. He's going to be that annoying 80-year-old man that is still telling his girls how to run the shop. And I really will go until the mind just can no longer do it. We don't have I'd
be very interested in scheduling. It might be a little early, but I'd be very interested in scheduling your daughters for a version of this panel in about 20 years, because I think that's a common theme that maybe you can potentially put bumpers in advance to try to. I've heard plenty of stories from shop owners about how they're up against their parents, and it feels, well, Brad, you mentioned about making sure that you're on the same page. I don't know that you worded it exactly that way, but to talk about, the future of the company so that you're not pulling in opposite directions. And,
Yeah, you may want
And
to grow,
I've
but
heard plenty of those
and
stories.
then that causes conflicts. You want to make sure you guys are both in sync on adding another store or adding more technicians or adding an addition to the bay or to a shop.
I mean, there's plenty of, and I feel like every day that I get older, I'm aware that this is going to be me one day, potentially. No, the way I've done it for the last 50 years is just fine. Let's just keep doing it that way, right? And sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. And your willingness to be able to be aware of that, I think, is important.
And I think Greg is really, we know he struggles. You know, he gets the three of us girls in here to think about it. Like, this is his, and these three girls have come in, but we know kind of you got to give him a little bit of space when we bring, you know, the new. But as far as like me, if his mother was to sit down, I mean, she was doing 2 books and she was doing pencils. I mean, it was insanity when I came in here. Her or his sister would have no idea how to run the business that it is today. And I think by him seeing that, what he saw with me is I'm a networker. I don't have a problem. If I don't know how to do something, I'm going to go find somebody that doesn't and does it better than me. He said that something with his family in the past, they would never ask. You just didn't. It was the Winchester way or it was no way. And unfortunately, when I came into the business, we really were to a point that Greg was like, Dad, his sister was running things with him at the time that was the embezzling. And so he's like, Dad, if this does not stop right now, the business is not going to be able to sustain this. And I will 100% tell you when I sat down, I mean, thankfully there was a mistake made in the checkbook that worked on our behalf, but I just feel like that closed-mindedness, that being so closed, it was obviously to put a cap on the growth. I mean, I don't want to burst, I don't like to brag, but it's like, because we just got all that out and we're open to new systems and different ways of doing things, like we were able to thrive through COVID and we were able to survive buying a pile of ashes, implementing things that Greg wanted to do and wasn't able to do it because he wasn't the owner, and then bringing in, I think, myself. And then we have this younger generation that's here that, things that they bring to the table. So yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, how old are your daughters?
They're 34 and 32. But he does feel there's a gap. So I think that's interesting, Brad, how your mom had you work the different things. Like my Lindsay has never been a mechanic. She came in as the service writer. And lots of times there's a frustration because he does feel like there's something missing of not understanding the base side.
Well, and that's why Brad, you're not a technician. You've never been trained to be a technician. You shadowed the technicians. Do I have that story right?
So more shadowing. Your mom had you shadow.
And I think, part of it is, I was going to say that I think when we say mechanic too, I mean, you can't do only big jobs, right? Like you guys have to do oil changes and things, right? So, have her, she can do oil changes. She could do a tire rotation. She could do a battery or a light bulb. And, have her see what it's like when we're like, hey, you just finished that car, but this one's waiting. I need you to go, and she gets pulled off or something. And, you need to slide this one in and,
while the phone's
she doesn't have to go
ringing.
out there and do alternators and radiators and engine replacement to get a feel for how stressful it can be just doing oil changes all day. And
I'd say the same thing. I was
how
never
hard it is with all the where you find the data, how do you get the data, how many quarts does this take? It just even an oil change. What type of oil did I put the oil cap back on? Did I tighten the drain plug enough? Did I put the cap back on the washer fluid? Did I add washer fluid? We just think that the oil change happens in 30 to 40 minutes, right? And it's just like kumbaya, it's an oil change. Go do 5 oil changes over the next 5 hours and see how stressed.
Yeah, our oil change tech is one of our most valued employees. They're the ones too, they're finding that I look at them as the doctor that used to come in for the hygienist. You know what I mean? We're 100%. All they're looking, they're booking other future jobs.
Looking for the hours.
And
Yeah,
yet
I was never a technician either, and so all of my mechanical experience is just by being around the shop, shadowing technicians, listening to them, talking to them. My dad hated that I went out in the shop and talked so much, but at the same time, that's how I learned, was just
All right.
watching them work and talking to them and just getting to know, what are you doing on this job? Oh, an alternator. Okay, well, how does that thing come out of there? And sometimes it's cursing and swearing, but sometimes it's a couple bolts and it comes out. So those are things that help me as a service writer, because that's what I'm doing now as the owners. I'm service writing as well. Is like when I look up a job, I kind of have a little bit of a mechanical knowledge as far as, okay, that's a 4-hour job, and I know that engine's tight in there or whatever. And so, it's going to be, we got to get paid 4 hours or 4.5 hours or whatever. Or I know when it's rusty that we're going to have to add a little bit more time because those bolts are not going to come out very easily. So the shop experience of being out in the shop, present, talking to the technicians and whatnot, is definitely a huge growth period. But you said you had a 10-year plan. Do you actually have like a 10-year plan written out, or are you just kind of hoping within the next 10 years they take over?
No, not 10 year. I think Greg sometimes does. And I'm like, Greg, let's be real. I don't foresee that happening. They felt it was going to take 10 years for her to learn everything he does here.
Okay. Gotcha.
But he's, no. Like I said, I don't ever picture. So sometimes when that frustration, he's like, oh, I never see that they're going to be able to run this place. And I'm like, we're nowhere near that. So to me, I'm like, that's just kind of a wasted frustration. Like, don't frustrate, yourselves on that. Like, maybe that needs to be removed altogether, because I think he would Greg would like us to be able to go on a week vacation and feel like the place isn't falling apart while we study.
What if he starts writing down what he does on a daily basis? What is his, how does he handle his daily activities and manage the crew? If he finds a good system as far as being as a shop foreman, hey, this tech over here is good at diag, and this tech over here is good at drivability or steering suspension, and these two guys are great at AC diagnostic and whatnot. Just having that stuff written down so that there's a booklet or a pamphlet or manual to go back to. It sucks in the time right now of having to stop and write down everything you're doing, but grabbing just a legal pad and at least starting with writing something down, at least starts a process. And maybe with that process, your daughters might be able to walk in and be like, well, I can handle those two things. That's not a problem. And now you just took a little bit off of his plate for a couple weeks, and then realize everything's running smooth. And it's like, well, that was easy. Let me take a couple more things off this plate here. And then all of a sudden, next you know, Greg's kind of finding himself finding something to do, finding a fire to put out, and realizing you're old in a fire that you
So two thoughts on that. Like, some people are big on paper. I'm not. I'd be more inclined to just leave a voice note on my phone.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. Greg seems old school.
And I'm actually old enough to remember those handheld those mini cassette players. So my mind went back to there, but without the transcription. So the fun thing about today's digital recordings is it's really easy to run that down into an actual text transcription after the fact. It could speed things up as far as what you were saying. Just take a moment. The moment is a lot shorter, isn't it now? It can be. Sure. And so, but I'm sorry, my mind went to, can I just make a snarky comment of some sort? Maybe it's you're running a child daycare. My vision for your shop is that one day you're running a senior daycare, and that you and your husband come in and you're the children.
Right. Kids are taking care of you. Right.
Yeah.
Come on, let's do a full circle. Come on, what do you think? That sounds fun to me.
It's funny you mentioned
for the service writer, you guys tell me about. I often feel like it's a lot for her. Like, she's, like I said, she's doing all the scheduling, she's ordering all the parts, she's managing, the 4-5 days of what's going in and going out, and that's where I feel like we get snagged a lot, is the pace of what's going in and out of those bays. So then I've asked AI a few times of to tell me those descriptions, and when I'm reading things, it's like she's doing far more than just being a service writer.
True. Has she? I mean, is there a list of what her job title is and what her description is of what she's supposed to do?
Yeah.
Is she taking on more than she's supposed to right now?
I just wonder if it's making it harder for her to, I mean, she's the one that we sent to college to come back and it was in business. A lot of the times I'm always like, and I think organization is a struggle, personality wise, which I feel it requires very good organizational skills because the pace at everything that's going. And one thing that we aren't doing, like we still are using a paper scheduling, which I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't know where you guys are at. I think that also is kind of slowing some things up. But that's where the big guy is like, does not want to leave that paper book for scheduling.
Sure. What do you guys use for your management system for the auto repair side?
Mitchell one.
They have a scheduler on there, don't they?
Yeah.
It's trash, but they have one. He doesn't like using that.
Julie,
We haven't gotten there.
I don't know you. I don't know your husband. And you can tell me to beat it and that I'm just some young kid. But I got to be honest with you. It's hard to hear this. It's hard to hear this. I would love to help you guys. I would love to get you out of where you're at because I can tell you where you're at as a family right now. It's not sustainable for 10 years. He's going to blow a gasket. She's going to blow a gasket. Eventually it's going to spill into awkward Christmas and Thanksgiving dinners because there's this underlying resentment at times of things.
I feel like that's generational. Like Mom and Greg fired each other on a daily basis. So like when you're saying,
but I would argue that then that's not a sustainable business, right? Mm-hmm. Like you gotta figure that out, or you do need to go. You need to like truly fire him and say you're not right for me. Maybe I'll sell this business to you one day, but I'm not gonna just. Would you? And I think this is one thing that my mom and I for sure look at ourselves in the mirror and be real with. Would I treat an employee like that? And would I treat my partner or my boss like that? No matter what their title is, mom, son, friend, would I? If I really want to fire you, then I think I need to get serious about like what's going on. And if I really wanted to fire, the owner of the business I was working for, would I just start applying and leave? Or would I sit there every day and tell them how much I hate them and why this sucks? That I would go and find a new job. So maybe, and as hard as that is to say, and I'm not saying that's the answer. I really don't think it is. I think that the reality is, though, that lay that on. That's like, be serious. We're not going to fire each other every other day. We're not going to talk behind each other's backs. We don't do that with the other employees. Why is it okay for us to do that? And unfortunately, the way that you're describing your husband, and I don't know him, so just take this as an
get him on the call. Get him over here.
I saw a shadow of somebody earlier on, and I'm pretty sure it was him.
Yeah. So is that he is going to have to make some changes for this to happen. Because the girls aren't going to come in and say, we just love the Winchester way and we love Dad's way, and Dad's way is 100% the best. And here's the hard thing that, again, I'm blessed that my mom saw this. Like, maybe I'm very strong in believing that my way is good and it works and we're profitable and this or that, but like, isn't there two ways to skin the cat and they both get to the same number? Yeah. Like you might do it this way and get to 15% net, and I might do it this way and get to 15% net. So we're both at 15% net. The employees are happy. Customers taken care of. The car's fixed. You're saying eventually you want to leave. Why do I have to keep doing it? It's the same outwork. I feel like my big thing always with anybody, employees, my mom, even family, it's like, I want to talk about outcomes, not decisions and little opinions. I'm frustrated with an outcome. I'm not frustrated that you did it this way. I'm frustrated that whatever.
Let's talk about long-range outcomes. I'm getting the vibe, Julie, that you would love to see Rod's Towing and Repair be in this community for the next 30 years. And is Greg out there turning wrenches occasionally?
Not so much turning wrenches. He's in the bay.
Because I'm thinking at 58, like his back is going to be such that he's not going to be able to physically do that much longer, right? And so, I hear stories of people who are doing it into their 70s, and man, what an amazing blessing those genetics are. But they're not mine, that's for sure. So, They're not most, but really where I was going is, I don't know. I kind of feel like I want your daughters to be like, Dad, move over.
I was gonna say, you're saying that nobody can run the shop, or that it couldn't produce what it's doing, or this or that, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but I talk about it all the time because I see it when we're working through acquisitions and buying other shops and just evaluating the market. It's a hero complex that these people have. If for rightfully so, it got them to where they are. You know, Will, you talked about it, like your dad.
No, Brad, I want to jump in. Brad, let me jump in on that real quick. Let me jump in on that. Whenever we're talking about moving from one generation to the other generation, I want to be very, very clear that even though it's very easy to point out okay, I'm going to quote scripture here. You ready? The planks in your brother's eye, right? Like they've also built an incredible foundation for us to be able to build on, right? And so as long as we can get the hero complex out of the way and then leverage that foundation, wow, what can we do next? What can, and so I think that's really, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I really wanted to add that there, is that it's easy to see the mistakes of others. Make sure that you're willing down the road to see to allow others to see the mistakes in you. And so, but yeah, let's build on what was built. It's not that they're doing it wrong or did it wrong or it was bad. It's that, okay, because you did what you did, we now can do more. Let us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say one thing there that you hit on that's super important that I would say, right? It's like that hero complex. It's safety. It's what got him to here. It's what's made the bills be paid. The girls are taken care of. You guys are supported, right? And the only way that he gets over that, and this is maybe your little bridge in this, Julie, is those girls have to remember that every day that they show up. We only have this opportunity, like Brad just said, because of what Dad did. He has this hero complex. There is a place for that. There is respect for that. And if we show him that respect, he will slowly take that hero complex down, because he's finally going to say, somebody understands it. This has all been sitting on my shoulders for so long, and now somebody understands it. Okay, maybe I can give a little bit here or there. Maybe I can test this out for a month or two. It doesn't happen overnight. I think the way that they break that down is they have to really sincerely show that respect of, you got us here. We don't want to blow this up because you did it wrong. We just want to make it better because we got the time. Like, thank you for getting us here so we didn't have to start back at square one. But we're not blowing it up because it's broken. We're just continuing to grow it because we got more time.
No.
If you had more time, you would grow it. But eventually we all go 6 feet under. So do you want to do this until you're 6 feet under and not enjoy life? Or are you ready to see this little transition? And again, Dad, I can't thank you enough that you've gotten us to even have this opportunity. Because a lot of kids got to go out, get a loan, find a building, and start wrenching with one bay and hope it works.
Yeah.
We didn't have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think all those things are yes. And I think that actually I think he grew up with this lack mindset here. Like, that was something, again, his dad, amazing, we feel blessed, right, to be taking this legacy. But, Greg grew up in they were going to go under all the time. So it was like mom from the office, like pushing him so they could make the bills, right? And so I've often thought, like, as we've had this shift, like our schedule doesn't have to be this insane anymore, right? Like, we really are okay. The bills are paid. Payroll is fine. Like, we're okay. But I think that you nailed it with both of those things. And then even, if there's some setback, we can handle in that learning curve. We can even handle those little setbacks. And I love what you said about the conversation of just letting him know, like, we know how hard you've worked to get here.
That was good. We live off of respect in many ways. And so that's a really nice nugget. That was good. But something that we said earlier was about how, that foundation, this is what was built. Okay, I'm going to fine tune it. I'm going to improve it a little bit differently because we're in, 2026, right? Or because, and it's no longer 1995, or whatever the reason may be. Do you have any, real quick, do we have any, and Brad, why don't you start real quick? Do you have any examples of things that were done before that, maybe have a mirror image of, we have a paper schedule, and we've always had a paper schedule, but that you've said, okay, we're going to do it differently now, and you and your mom were on the same page. So it was actually probably a nicer conversation, but it was still probably like, what are you talking about moment? Was there any of those for you and your mom at all? None? You're thinking about it. You're looking to that side of your brain where you're like, I can't think of anything.
I guess to that point, nothing sticks out in my head, and maybe it's because it's always been a discussion. It's always been, we're really big on even, the 4 managers being involved in a lot of these decisions, testing out new things. And I think that I'm also just realistic that, like, I see a new trinket and I think it's cool, right? How do we get AI built into the point of sale so it can run a maintenance, analysis and tell us that the diff service was due 2,000 miles ago and plugs are due in 6,000 miles, right? And I get excited about that. And I think, though, I'm at least real enough to think maybe now's, I think the other thing is it can't do everything all at once. Maybe now isn't the right time, and they need to tell me that, hey, can we put this on the back burner? Can you bring this up in Q3 of this year, Q4? Or, oh my gosh, Brad, we just did something similar.
So they prevent you from going. They prevent you from going on random tangents, grabbing the next shiny object.
Yeah, I think we're all just really big.
That's a good
nobody
balance.
has like a true. I mean, obviously, she has the true final say. It's her business, her company, and whatnot. Until that full transition happens, but we've never had a moment. It's always been open discussion, and I think that if both people are reflective, that you can't be right all the time. Listen to the other person.
What about you, Will? You were at the shop at the age of 13. There were things that you saw. Well, you already mentioned one about it being a little bit more fun, but what else?
It's
that you are able to build on, but also shift a little bit, pivot a little bit.
I guess the blessing I find in my father, unfortunately passing, is that I had the hero complex in my father. Like, I looked at my dad as the hero. My dad could do no wrong. He was the smartest man I ever knew. He was the hardest working man I ever knew. So when he said, this is what we're doing, yes, sir, no problem, sir, we're going to do it. So we never got to the point where it was, I was purchasing parts of the company yet. And so I never really had the opportunity to sit down and say, hey, Dad, let's try and go this route or that route with something. It was always, son, we're coming in and we're going to do this, and this is how we're going to do it. And say, yes, sir, no problem, sir. Like, that's the way we're going to do it now. And so after, obviously, he passed, I still had a lot of that in my head. And that's where, in the beginning, when I was mentioning it, I realized my dad built a good foundation. I had to build from it, but I didn't have anyone to bounce the ideas off of. So I had to figure it out on my own and figure out how to manage the risk of switching to something different or changing a system or a process. And so, again, with my dad, I never pushed back with any of his ideas, because I just felt he knew what was right, and he was a high school dropout that was successful with three locations. So it's like, the guy's smart, the guy knows what he's doing. And so I often think back, and I look at our numbers of what we were doing back then when I was the manager of the shop, to then when I took over ownership of the shop, to where we are now. And I look back at the numbers, and I remember calling my dad at the end of a week, and we did $10,000 in sales. And I was like, Dad, guess what? Coopersville just did $10,000 in sales. Can you believe it? And he'd, oh, awesome job, son. Great work. Now, if I see $10,000 in a week, I am stressed to the max. Like, I don't know what
I would think.
Now we're doing in weeks what we did in months back then. And so it's just like,
nice.
I keep thinking, man, like, I wish my dad was here to see the growth that we have. But I also then sometimes wonder, like, would we have the growth that we have if he was here? Because he was very old school. I would consider him a lot like Greg, where he had that hero complex where he had to fix everything. He had to put out the fires, and he was running around doing this, and he was always between the 3 locations constantly. He was never in one spot, to a point where I remember him taking his cell phone and chucking it against the wall because he was so sick of people calling him with problems. He's like, everyone calls him with all these problems. I got to fix all these problems. Like, you kind of set yourself up to be the problem solver. You know, he never delegated that work to somebody to solve the problem for him. So I often wonder, would we be where we are today if he was still around? Obviously, I hope we were. I hope we would be better, because I think my dad is amazing. But I also have this weird feeling that maybe we wouldn't be where we're at, because we might be stuck in some old times or some old systems and processes. I wouldn't have joined the coaching company that I joined, that has accelerated us so much. So I was going to ask Julie, are you guys part of a coaching company at all? Have you thought about looking at coaching?
I've done a lot of coaching, nothing for this entity of the business. But I'm always open to coaching.
I would look at getting a coach for the automotive repair. Obviously, I'm going to recommend ShopFix. I love ShopFix. They're a fantastic company, but there's several of them out there that you can sign up with. I would recommend, especially if you want to make that transition, having a coach there to almost be like a mitigator between the two parties, you know, of like, hey, this is the way the systems go. This is the way the companies are going now. And this is where we need to move where you need to move the company to. So I would recommend getting a coach involved. To help you guys.
And if you go down that route,
so.
I want to add to that. There are a lot of great platforms and coaching companies out there. And I think that interviewing several would be well worth your while, because I've seen people who are on what seems to be very successful coaching platforms have bad experiences, and it was largely because of the individual coach that they were being. So the platform's important, I guess, but the premise but really it's the person that's delivering it. Are they a good fit for you in the family dynamic that you have? I think that's important. I think that's worthwhile to consider. I'm also curious, were there any changes that Greg made that his parents had in place?
I'm trying to think, because I do feel like we just kind of morphed differently. I think for us, coming from Greg, like taking care of the employees, like them knowing we don't have this without them. So we give back a lot to our employees, and how, we're in a little small town. So, very competitive with wages. Healthcare packages is really important for us with them.
And you're saying it's more aggressive care for the employees than your in-laws did.
Yeah.
Right. And so, when you're talking about potential changes to be made in the next generation, maybe point out his successes in the improvements he's made from the past generation. And again, that's not a negative towards the past generation. If you're building a house, it's got walls and a ceiling and a roof and all that, but the foundation is still there, right? And I'm still suggesting that the prior generation left us an amazing foundation, and that to Will's point, had we kept working with them, we would just be continuing to build a larger foundation with 0 walls. We're gonna get wet on the next rain, and so Anyway, I don't know if that's a good analogy or not.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about all of that, about trying to. I really like Brad's comment about sharing the respect and showing the respect. I thought that was something. But Will, you've been a part of the same coaching group now for 4 years.
No, since 2024.
Oh, I'm sorry, 2 years. There was a 4 in there. It was just 2 years ago.
From 2019 to 23, we were part of a coaching company.
I like what you said, though, about how the coach could potentially be that mediator in between the two.
And the family dynamic. You have that the father trying to be the father figure and the daughter trying to be the daughter figure, but the daughter's trying to take over and almost run the father, and that's not how the dynamic works. So you need a mediator in between there that can kind of help Greg understand like where she's coming from, but also help her understand where Greg's coming from as far as, hey, having Brad mention the respect of of what he's built. It's not something I even thought about, that having a mediator or a coach there can help with that transition period, essentially. So
Absolutely.
And Julie, is it both daughters that are involved, or is it one daughter that's primarily going to?
Both.
All right, so they're going to be co-owners potentially. I mean, that's penciled in right now, and there might be more than that.
That all has happened this last year as well. The whole trust and where things are going to go. So yeah.
So it adds to the whole, again, back to the coaching dynamic and something else that you said was documenting. You didn't call it documenting, but actually writing down the job description and current responsibilities, and it might start with just documenting all that's being done. But when you do that, and then you compare those two, you're going to actually notice that there's potentially a gap. There might be some other hires that need to be done to fill in some of those gaps. You might need to relieve your daughters of some of the workload they're currently doing so they can get additional training and elsewhere, right? So they can have that conversation with the, what is it, like the Elantra that requires the bumper to be removed to get to the headlamps. It seems like a really easy thing. I just got to replace a bulb, right? But I mean, that's nuts, because now it probably needs calibration. Probably needs to go through an ADAS shop. I don't know. You guys can tell me more than I can speak to that.
Well, I think, Greg, too, sometimes I think that's a great idea, too, of writing down the responsibilities. I think even in the last, we're 2026, so the girls have been with us 4 and 5 years. I think that he even lots of times has forgotten what it looks like, because prior to the girls being here, he was running the towing business, doing the call, up all night. He was the service manager and he was answering all the phones. But we've also been able to, by bringing them in, we're more than 3 times the business that we were prior to bringing the girls in. So I think that too, of, just kind of taking, it's probably time for us. Like, it's been 5 years to sit back and write. I like writing. I'm still writing too. But to write down like what things looked like in 2022, where we're at now, 2020, where we're at now, 2026. So 6 years since I've come on board. And what has changed, what is working, and what we feel stuck on. I think too, if we're going to bring in a coach, it would be good to have that mapped out of, what things that we feel, because I know he's feeling stuck. There's a part of him that is just feeling stuck.
With the notating of his description one, I forgot there's another thing. It's called a plod. It's a little AI thing. It's half the size of your phone, that you can just, if he wears a shirt with a pocket in it, pop it in there, the button, and it will record all day everything he says, and then it'll give him transaction at the end of the day. Unfortunately, it records everything he says, so that does stink. But it can write a synopsis very quickly using AI to kind of describe everything. So if he can verbally say, if he's doing something physically, he can verbally say, "This is something I do," or if it's communicating or whatever, it can kind of break it down for him as well. It's just to kind of see. It shows the girls as well, this is all the things that he does that you don't have to do, so it plays into that whole perspective thing of like, hey, he's not just sitting around bump on the log while you guys are busting your butts and whatnot. He's busting his butt too. So, but I want to see this transition happen quicker than 10 years. And I want to see a nice, easy transition. And then the other thing that has been speaking to me is, you got to let the girls fail too. You got to let them fail. They got to make the mistakes so that they can grow. Because if they don't make mistakes, they're not going to grow, So you almost got to release the reins a little bit and watch them fall. Even if they're going to fall, you got to let them fall and let them get themselves back up. So that when Dad's not there, eventually Dad's not going to be there. They don't have that fear once they do fall, that, oh, this guy's falling, we're done. They understand that we're going to fall, we just got to get back up.
Yeah, that safety net. That's what I consider our parenting. We've done a lot of safety net parenting, honestly.
Yeah.
And it's here in the garage too. Yeah.
And start with small stuff. Start with small stuff that you can mitigate the risk, and you understand that it's going to hurt a little bit, but you'll get out of. You'll get out of it. You just care what's going to get out of it. So.
I'm curious about the Plod piece of it, and my first thought was, I'm a digital marketing guy, right? So I'm all about technology and all these different things, but I'm also very aware of some of the cloud-based type stuff that's So my mind first went to, is Plod cloud-based, and so they do have a cloud-based to it, but it's also an offline piece, so it doesn't have to be plugged into the AI giants that are out there who are just going to grab all our information and sell us stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So
I use it for when I go to my conferences for my coaching company.
You do use it. You do have one.
I have one. I use it for when the speakers are up talking, because I'm terrible at note taking. I write chicken scratches, and then two, anytime I start writing something, I stop listening, and so that I miss another tidbit, and so I just pop that thing on, put it in my pocket, and I just sit there and listen. If something really catches my ear, it's like, hey, that was something that, quick little jot of something. But then at the end, I can just pull it, plot it. We'll have the whole transcript of everything he just said, the word for word, what he just said. You can attach speakers if you have multiple speakers up there. It will, you can label speaker 1 and speaker 2, who they are. And so then you can go through the transcript and find, okay, what was that piece that Tom said earlier? And you can look it up that way. So,
wow. That's really sharp.
It's really, really cool.
I got to tell you, that would have made college days so much easier for me. My goodness. I remember going into like a study group for a test. And I remember my classmates looking at my notes, and they're like, this is garbage. It's an astronomy class, and I have down, the sun is hot. And like, no, that's not a useful piece of information, right? I mean, but I mean, it's like, why did you write that down? So, so no, I've never been, you and I can relate to your story in that regard. I'm not the best at note taking. And so, a lot of times when I have meetings now, I really appreciate having a AI transcript, note taker in there, because it allows me, just as you said, to be more engaged in the conversation as opposed to jotting things down. Hey, I'm kind of curious. We've talked about so many different things. Is there a particular topic that, if you were listening in to 3 other shop owners talk about, you'd be like, I really want to hear what they have to say?
ADOS.
Is there ADOS?
ADOS, how to mitigate risk and manage, essentially, like, how are you essentially selling to the customer? How are you finding the information on it, and then how are you selling it to the customer? Because it's becoming a very large thing. And I have somebody you could talk to with it too. So, somebody I would recommend you speak to or have on the panel. One of my buddies, he's very good with ADOS, but we don't really get to chat much about it. But anytime I have a question about it, I can call him. So, that's definitely something that seems to be the future in where all the automotive world is going.
Will, can I just make a guess? Is it Corey?
Corey? No.
Who's your buddy? Your buddy in ADOS. It's not his first name isn't Corey. It's somebody else.
Marty.
Okay. All right. So Marty. Okay. I think that would be valuable. I have that topic has come up a couple of times on past episodes. One that actually hasn't even been published yet. So pay attention to the Garage Grid podcast, because I think that's a looming issue that I keep trying to bring up more and more. And the number of times where I hear shop owners kind of like sweeping it under the rug and trying to pretend it doesn't really exist is shocking. And I think the biggest gap is actually with the end customer. So something you just said, how do you sell it to the end customer? And what I keep hearing is, this is how it's fixed. I am the expert on how it's fixed. Either you don't want it, or if you don't want to pay the correct way, then go to the other guy down the street and he'll do it wrong and you'll be in trouble. But this is the correct way. So it's kind of like I don't know how well they're doing at explaining the value of the calibration, as opposed to just saying this is what needs to be done. And so I think there's value in that part of the conversation as well. So now, is that a one-on-one? Is that just? I think another panel would be interesting, right?
Sure,
To hear how
for
three different shop owners are approaching it. And would there be value in having an ADAS only? Because they exist. There are shops that are popping up that are ADAS only shops, as opposed to it's a feature of this repair shop.
I would say feature of the repair shop
Would be a better.
I think would be a better because when you have the ADAS only, they're not really customer oriented. They're shop oriented. They're just dealing with the shop. They're going shop to shop in programming for the shop itself. But I mean, maybe having one individual that is ADAS only because he'll have all of the information, or essentially all of the information, because he's doing permitting.
Might. Right.
Whereas with the shop side, it's more of how do we inform the public, like you said, the end customer, on the importance of your ADAS and why it needs to be calibrated. And it's not something that Joe Blow down the road can just throw on there, and just because there's no light doesn't mean there's not an issue. Or let them know the safety behind ADAS and why it's required to calibrate. A degree is a big difference in ADAS, you know.
Oh my gosh, it's a huge difference. So do you have the space? You got 5 bays there. Do you have the space? Are you considering?
I'm considering adding to my building so that I have the space, but you need a lot of open space. Technically, I can do it in my parking lot, but they don't recommend that with this.
No, don't recommend it, because your parking lot is probably on a slant for water management reasons.
Right.
Well, yeah, yeah, that too. But I'm more concerned about the level aspect of things, because again, that 1 degree or half degree it makes a big difference.
Oh wait, are you talking about Corey Roseman? Oh, yeah. Okay. I forgot that he opened up a whole separate building for ADAS there. I forgot Corey. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so that's a good topic. Julie, what about you? Is there a particular topic among repair shops that would be interesting? You'd be like, I kind of want to tune into that conversation.
Well, I did tune into you after I met you, last week or the week before.
Yep.
So I will be tuning. I didn't know that existed already. What I heard was very good. I think, I mean, I don't know as far as the different systems, like, the back office part of things. I think that's interesting too. Like a lot of guys that own a shop and they're doing, trying to do their books, like systems in place that make shop life easier, better.
Easier.
But like I said to you here, I feel like I feel like we're always looking for like the missing link in organization, like the day-to-day, how we are, the front is communicating with those bays, like that whole part of it there. I mean, I think we're figuring it out, but I can't believe there aren't better ways.
Get a board.
Get what?
Get a board.
A board?
That's something ShopFix teaches. We call it the board system. It's basically a big whiteboard with every technician's name, and then it's like you have these little business card style cards with magnets on them, and you put the vehicle on that card, and then you put it with the technician in the stage that it's in. So it's to be worked on, it's being inspected, it's being creating estimate, waiting for parts, and then sold, waiting for repair. And so all of those cards are on the board, so every technician knows every vehicle that's at the shop right now and who's supposed to be working on it. So when a technician's working on a vehicle, he's like, he's kind of taking his time because he doesn't think he has anything going on. He can look over at his board and say, oh wow, I have 4 cars on my board that I need to work on. And then that kind of hustles them a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then there's that communication stage as well, as far as like, where is it at? Hey, I'm just finishing up this job. Oh, I got parts waiting for that one, but this one's so I have parts here and I just need to work on that one next. They know when they're done with this one, they have something else to work on next. And
so all the technicians are
like
moving
that communication. And I feel like that is where I think that you just hit on something, like that is all in Greg's brain. Like Greg knows all of that. He knows where the car is at and what process they're in, but nobody else knows.
Right. If Greg's on the phone with somebody and the technician's standing there, one thing I hate more is the technician standing there just waiting for the next thing to do. what do I do? What do I do? It's
Yeah.
like, wait for Greg to tell me what's next. And for
Yeah.
the board system, that helps. I'll send you a photo of my board via text.
Okay.
Kind of what we run with. So
Yeah. I like that. And I'd appreciate that, Julie. I'm sure Julie would appreciate that text message too. Will, thank you for that. Episode 103. It doesn't quite cover what Will's talking about, but it covers it a little bit. It talks about the communication between the shop from the front to the back.
Okay.
And one of the guys on that panel, they use walkie-talkies. Like, so you have a diverse group of solutions is what I'm saying. And so that's kind of the goal of these panels, in my opinion, is to let everyone hear a plethora of different voices of this is what's working for me. And maybe that works for you too. Maybe
if you have an 18-day shop,
as Brad was saying, there's more than one way to skin the cat, right? I mean, I guess said that twice today. So, well, now he said, now he's officially said it 3 times because I'm also Brad. So, but if the transcript messes that up, maybe that'll be the case. But I don't know. I'm curious. Do the technicians move those magnetic cards from place to place? So they're also
depends on the stage in which
so,
the vehicle's in, right? If it's,
Yep.
The service writer is going to put the card on the board initially. Technician's going to move it from to be worked on to inspecting.
Yep.
And then technically my board's a little different. They take it off the board and bring it to me up front. And I got a little metal strip that I put the magnet on there while I'm writing the estimate, selling to the customer. Once I hear from the customer, go ahead and do it. I take the card and I move it to waiting for parts. Once parts go out, I move it to work in progress, basically. So
there is some mobility with it. And what I was really thinking was some of the layouts could prevent a shared whiteboard or a shared board because of the shop being too far away from the front of the shop, or the way, again, back to the layout. But as long as, we get one of those iPhone tracking stickers on each one of those magnetic pieces so that you don't ever lose one. You could actually have multiple boards that way. I'm overstating the tracking piece. Will's looking at me like I'm being serious with the iPhone tracking.
Well, the thing is I mean, you want it in a central location where everyone is passing through. We see
but there are some shop layouts where you don't have that central location.
It's difficult. I don't have a large 18-bay shop. I got a 5-bay shop. It's not that hard. We'll walk from bay 5 to the front where all your parts are, where all your fluid are, all your filters are, is right there. We wash our hands. It's basically essentially right next to there. So there's constant reminder. The downside is me, the service artist, I have to go from my office out to the shop to place a card. But at the same time, that allows me to then walk through the shop, visualize the shop, where we at, what vehicles are there, air, what vehicles aren't, is there a fire?
And again, there's some shops that we work with that have 3 buildings on the same campus. Again, you hear all these different ideas and you think about, okay, that's interesting. How does that work for me? Or does it? And what would, so check out episode 103. Maybe it'll give you some ideas, Julie, but the board part isn't mentioned in there, but that's also extremely valuable. Yeah. Good. Nice. All right. Well, let's wrap up. Let's bring this to an end. Thank you guys for being a part of this episode, and thank you for just kind of pouring out your stories. I mean, there was a lot of heartfelt moments and honesty in this. This is great. And I mentioned this before we started recording. I love the fact that there are kids' artwork in all of our backgrounds. I think that's one of the things that I love about the auto repair space is how I don't know. Is there another industry that has as many family-oriented or family-focused enterprises? Funeral homes, maybe, but they're all being bought out by private equity. So how do we keep these within the families or pass it on to other families? I'm just thinking out loud. But I love that about this space, and I hope for everyone listening and for the 2 of you that you keep that family cord strong through your shop. Maybe even extend it into your employees, but strong through the shop. Thank you, guys.